Now, T2P2 is an acronym for the Theater of Public Policy. They formed in 2011 at the Huge Theater, that's at 31st and Lyndale. I discovered them, however, in the same neighborhood, but at the Bryant Lake Bowl Theater. And what a godsend. They're actually political, they actually read the newspapers, and they're very, very funny.
I've got a request into the government.
The government?
They're going to bail us out.
Are they really?
What a coup, right?
I know.
We did it all, we muck it up.
And they're going to come in and make it all better.
Exactly right.
This is like magic.
This is better than anything
Now, the co-founders of the company are Brandon Boat, who is not here, but Tane Danger is. Now, before I'm going to give you a word, we're going to look at this.
The Boundary Waters canoe area.
The Theater of Public Policy plays on the risky stage of unscripted improv comedy. Toss it an idea, and the cast of the evening plays with it.
Oh my God, that was my life, baby.
T2P2 uses wit and slapstick to engage locals in policy talk at a time when today's political message managers, blooper cops, and the creeps at Twitter have scared officials, lawmakers, and policy wonks into being even duller. Just ask Minneapolis Mayor Betsy Hodges. Parody and satire can grease our creaky and lame public discourse. Public policy, ticket buyers, and guests can get a damn good lube job. At the Bryant Lake Bowl in mid-October, the Independence Party candidate for Secretary of State was there. Bob Helen didn't do so well in the election, but he knows how to play improv ball. Tane, what's going on there?
Thank you for coming out to the show with Bob Helen. As you probably heard that night, it was supposed to be a forum with 3 candidates for Secretary of State, Bob Helen, Steve Simon, and Dan Severson. Fortunately, the Democratic and the Republican candidates, you could say chickened out of being part of an improv forum.
Steve Simon would never chicken out. He probably had a big fundraiser.
He did have a big fundraiser, actually.
Well, that's what he told you.
That's what he told me,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
When you have the Kaplans, the Sam and Sylvia Kaplan, you should ask them what they were doing on October 20th, 2014. Bob Helen was a great interview, and I think that he's really smart.
He's got a future.
Yes.
I don't know with what party.
That's a good question.
They did not become a major party. They won't retain that status. Now, it was so good, I came back the next week with Two-Putt Tommy Johnson, a regular on our show, and we saw retired Supreme Court Justice Paul Anderson.
Who, if anybody, can roll with the punches. Supreme Court Justice Anderson could. I mean, that man could have run that show himself. I was very nervous that he was actually going to take over and just start doing scenes on his own. But he was fantastic. He talked to us about the history of Minnesota, about his view of the law and politics, and a little bit about where he sees some of the political winds blowing into the future, which then becomes obviously fodder for our cast of improvisers to try and bring to life on stage.
And they did quite well. Paul's pitching, you're catching, and hitting doubles and triples.
That's very nice of you to say. I always say, it's not always a matter of our cast being witty or overly comical. It's about them being good listeners and being able to actually hear what somebody is saying. Because there's comedy in most of the stuff that folks talk to us about, and in the stories of how we play politics or how we interpret public policy. That the stories are already there. It's just a matter of somebody listening to them in the right way and then being willing to put them up on stage.
What kind of crowds have you had at the Bryant Lake Bowl?
We get folks who are coming because they're passionate about one issue or another. It's a wide swath of folks who come for a variety of reasons. The big question for me, of course, is whether or not anybody comes back. But hopefully, we got you to come back.
I did, and I brought a friend.
There we go. That's all I need, and then
yeah.
I will be able to eat next month.
Now you have 2 more shows in November. What's going to go on?
Jacob Fry, the new Minneapolis City Council member, represents a ward that includes a bunch of downtown Minneapolis, is going to be our guest. Going to talk to him about being a new council member, some of the initiatives that he's been pushing since he's been there, what Minneapolis is kind of looking at now with their very first budget with Mayor Hodges. And then our final show of the 2014 fall season will be with Chris Farrell, the economics editor for NPR's Marketplace programs.
Sure.
He's got a new book out called Unretirement about how baby boomers and folks in that generation are not retiring the way that their parents did.
Yeah, that's why we do this show.
I know.
Yeah.
They won't let you go. So Chris Farrell will be with us the last Monday in November. Great conversation to come listen to before Thanksgiving so that you can go home and talk to your parents about how they should never retire.
Cut.
I understand that his record doesn't look good. I understand.
What else have you done?
We've done shows on just about every topic you can imagine, including
I
things.
bet you haven't done a show on Asian carp.
We have done multiple shows about
you're
Asian
a
carp.
liar, yeah?
And not only did we do a show about Asian carp, but a gentleman in the audience decided to bring an Asian carp to the show. He walked it up on stage and started giving us more or less a lecture about the Asian carp.
This is a bipodal carp, or was he carrying
He was
them?
carrying
Oh,
the
he
carp.
was
If we
carrying
have, that's a serious problem if the carp have
Yeah.
become bipodal. Although if they support the theater, then I'm completely okay with
Oh,
it.
of course. Yeah.
At the time, it was a 60-pound frozen fish that he carried up on stage and decided to show everyone. Stage lights are warm, and so eventually we had a defrosting Asian carp on the stage.
What do they smell like?
About what you would expect a 60-pound fish to smell like under a hot lamp for 20 minutes. I can't promise there's going to be an Asian carp on stage in any particular show, but that's the kind of, comedy gold that we promise here in Minnesota, and we deliver as often as we can.
So the carp was given an encore?
The carp was given an encore, something out of Vivaldi. It was nice.
Really?
Yeah.
Good. Oh,
Audience in tears. I laughed, I cried. It was better than Cats.
It's nice knowing Renaissance people.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's and Renaissance fish in particular. I mean,
So 2 more shows at Bryant Lake Bowl in November. When?
the last 2 Mondays in November, we're at the Bryant Lake Bowl, 7 p.m.
And where's Bryant Lake Bowl?
The historic Bryant Lake Bowl.
The historic Bryant Lake Bowl,
is,
I'm sure, yeah.
as the name suggests, on Bryant and Lake in Minneapolis.
Let me write this down.
Yes.
Okay, good.
It's convenient. More places should brand themselves with just their street address in the name.
Sure, good.
Democratic Visions is independently handcrafted by lefty Southwest Suburban volunteers for the entire metro region.